Well, all right, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast that is related to men, which is the health of men through mandated coaching. We thank you for taking the time out to just sit down with us and listening to today's conversation. And our guest speaker today, our guest podcaster, is going to be Jeff Castellano. I have worked with Jeff indirectly at the same company some years ago, and he's been in various industries, still leading the way in various roles that he has had and what he continues to have right now. And we're just going to get into conversations just on different topics relating to his life and where he is today and what he's looking to do. So, if you will, Mr. Jeff, you can go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Thanks, Selwyn. It's good to see you again and good to be
Same
chatting.
here.
Jeff Castellanos, again, I live here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. As you mentioned, we go back probably 15 to 20 years at a former big company, and excited to just have a conversation with you about, wherever it leads us. I'm excited for it.
Oh, that's always good, man. That is always good. Yeah, that was I think when we first started engaging, it may have been around golf, the game of golf, I think.
I think it was golf, and then we moved into basketball.
Oh yeah.
You know, all those lunchtime basketball games at our former employer.
Oh man, Jeff, that was one of the times I really exercised, and I would go down there on lunch thinking it was going to be 30 minutes. Next thing you know, it's an hour. I'm like, whoa, hold on, I gotta get back real quick. But the games got so intense, not in the sense of rough, but it was, man, we were just playing and we didn't want to let go of the game. But I truly enjoy that, man. That was really fun.
I loved it. Ironically, when I moved to where I live now about 8 years ago, one of the guys that we used to play with all the time, Tim,
Oh,
was my neighbor.
really?
Uh, so we hadn't seen each other because I had left the company and I had been gone 6, 7, 8 years by that time. And his daughter and my son ended up going to school together, graduated together here in high school. But we ran in. Yeah, he lived like 10 houses down from me. I still see him a lot around town, and but it was a kind of a small world. I hadn't seen him, and I'm like, hey. Our
Oh,
kids were more like, how do you guys know each other? We're like, we knew you guys before you guys were even born because we went to the same church at the time way back then too. So
oh, okay. Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, in that, in two aspects of that conversation, kids. How many kids do you have?
I have two boys,
Two boys. And how old are they now?
20 and 19, both at the University of Alabama. Roll Tide.
Oh man, I see you wearing that really proud, man.
I'm proud of them. They've done a great job and are working hard. One's a aerospace engineer, and the other one is a chemistry major.
Really?
hmm
So what made them go in that particular route?
My oldest, being the oldest, is rule follower
Mm-hmm.
and likes process, and he's very systematic.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's always been enthralled with how things work and taking things apart, and took some classes and really likes planes. And he wanted to be a pilot initially, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's
Yeah.
how he evolved into it. My other son, who just finished his freshman year, was a computer science cybersecurity
Wow.
major, and then pivoted to chemistry. It wasn't what he thought it was, which is great. I'm glad he figured it out quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And he likes chemistry. He likes to play with things and build things, and he likes to see how things are. He likes to get into the structure of how things work. Where the other one likes to see how things work. This one wants to know what they're made of, what parts go into it. So
Wow.
I think it's really good for both of them.
Well, that really is, and they're in two, I would say, couple of dominant fields, within aerospace and the science and technology in itself. Because, and you've seen, I'm sure you paid attention a lot to what's happening in regards to space and just information technology and how that's been changing. It's not like when we grew up, there was a movie we went to see at the theater and it wouldn't come out on tape until maybe the following year, whereas it's on it's online probably a few hours later, or if not before. Um, so things, yeah, they really have changed so much in that time frame. And in that, as you're speaking about your boys, what do you feel that they have gleaned from you that they're applying now in college?
I think work ethic is one. Is like I grew up son of migrant workers.
mm,
And my parents instilled in me, being a first generation, Mexican, and my
mm,
parents just instilled in me the discipline of hard work and working towards something. But I think the most important thing I think that my wife and I both have done for them is set them on a cross spiritually.
mm,
They know who
mhm.
they are in God,
Yeah.
and that's who defines them. And as you send them out into the world, parents, there's some trepidation, but they plugged in with the church locally there in
Mhm,
Tuscaloosa. They're active
mhm,
in the church,
mhm,
and that's been really big for them, that when all this craziness is happening in the world, they have something that they can lean on and
yeah.
lean into, and they know who they are, which we're super excited about. At 19 and 20, they
Mhm.
know who they are and whose they are.
Yeah. And that's very big right now because some of the conversations I hear, and I'm sure you've heard as well, is that the next generation, or that generation coming up, seems to not, and it's definitely not across the board, but you can see where they're not really wanting to have that relationship with God because of what they have seen in the previous generation. And
Mm.
it's more so, you know what, I'd just rather do my thing. But when you have a strong family member, or the whole family in itself, staying the course, that they have a greater opportunity to minister to um, peers, as they're in college, which, is in itself is so many emotions, so many ups and downs, so many things that they will have to deal with, good and bad. They have
Mm-hmm.
that opportunity to say, you know what, I know my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ still has control of everything.
Right.
And so, when you and your wife have conversations with them, what are they kind of talking about that's happening in college?
Um, So obviously, you got a lot of distractions.
Mm,
There's a lot of things going on. Alabama is probably one of the biggest Greek schools in the nation, if not the biggest, a big
really?
part of fraternity sorority. My
Hmm.
older one joined, my younger one didn't,
Hmm.
and he's enjoying that, the social part of it. But I think, like, he had something happen, tragically. One of his pledge brothers and fraternity brothers, passed away,
Mm,
you know, and committed suicide, unfortunately,
um,
probably a month and a half ago. And so he really had to lean into his faith, and it kind of shook him up. But more
yeah.
than anything, he was able to help some of his other peers in that peer group to comfort them and to speak life into them. And I think that was super helpful, in that he had something that he knew he can go to and lean into, whether it was us, his friends, his youth pastor at the church that they're involved with there, and their overall chapter advisor did a fabulous job of bringing support in as well.
Mm,
So I think that's probably one big way.
hmm.
And and I told him, I said, it's kind of like anybody. It's, you can talk the talk, but you got to walk the walk, and your walk
Yeah.
will speak more to your
Hmm.
ministry than your talk will.
Yeah.
Because you could say all these things, but and that, and that's convicting for me,
Yeah.
because I have to do that as well in my life. And as a fellow Christian, we fail every day, but thank
Mm.
God we have a God who is there for us and forgives us. But we do our best each and every day, knowing that we're going to fail.
Oh yeah. He gives us those chances. He says, in essence, no matter how many times we fall down, we still have the opportunity to get back up, repent, and say, Lord, you know what? Let's do this again. I know you believe in me, and he continues to encourage us, in those areas. You know, um, for me, recently, he's had to encourage me in my career, and we want to speak about this here for men and their trajectory in their career. It's so vital for us. Not that it isn't for the women as well, but for the men, we look at our career kind of as a foundation for us, or something that we can hold on to. As you have progressed in your careers, since 15 and 20 years ago, what have you seen from a man's perspective that you've really had to deal with, both good and bad, that has allowed you to be where you are today?
One is, you don't have to have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
Surround yourself with people that do. Don't be so focused on chasing. I was so focused on chasing that next level, that next position,
Yeah.
that you didn't take care of my priorities. Were out of whack. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
My priorities were not there. So I think the biggest thing is I've gotten older, you know, gone through, trials and tribulations and gone through things, is that at the end of the day, a job doesn't define me. It can go away. In 2020, I was without a job for 11 months because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And, he just provided.
Yeah.
And so I think the biggest thing is just knowing that that job doesn't define me. It's, he defines me. No job defines me. I enjoy it and I'm thankful for my employment.
Yeah.
And I work hard, Colossians 3:23, work as if you're working for the Lord
Yeah.
and not for man. And that's on my desk.
Mm.
And so those days when I don't feel, sometimes, you just don't feel it.
Yeah.
You look at that and, it's an act of worship still. So,
Mm-hmm.
that reignites me. But to me, the biggest thing is just being, at the end of the day, my walk with him and my family are the most
Mm-hmm.
important things. And there's no, um, what's the word? I think the work people get in this work-life balance. That's,
Oh.
I'm not quite sure. I'm a big subscriber to that.
Uh-huh.
It's, you got to get into a rhythm,
Mm.
and and just knowing where your priorities are at, and keeping the important things the important
Mm-hmm.
things.
So the important things. And as a married man, one of the most important things to you is your wife. So with this elusive or ambiguous work-life balance, um, how do you guys find time for yourself?
Well, we obviously we've always had, as a family, and even now as empty nesters, family, we always had a rule that we were going to eat dinner around the table a minimum of 4 days a week.
Mm.
No
Okay.
phones, no nothing.
Yeah.
So as a family, we've done that as they grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we eat dinner together pretty much every day if I'm in town. We
Mm-hmm.
have a little routine that we do. We have dinner, play a game of cribbage, and we keep score on who's winning. Uh, but we continue to go out. We date each other. We're active
Mm-hmm.
in our church, and we make each other a priority. But we also know that there's times where I've got to work late or
Mm-hmm.
she's got to work late. But those are the exceptions. They're not the rule.
Right.
Uh, but we also have our interests. She has interests with her girlfriends that she likes to do, and I have interests like I want to go play golf.
Yeah.
That's really not her thing, but it doesn't become the priority. So,
Mm-hmm.
we have a family calendar. Even now, without the kids, we still have a family calendar, and
Mm-hmm.
we know when things are coming up. Hey, I'm going to be late. She's a school teacher.
Yeah.
She's like, hey, we've got this. Okay, great, no worries. And I have extracurricular. I umpire high school and college baseball, so at night I might be
Mm.
gone.
Okay.
But we always know that the other one's the priority.
Mm. You know, I'm glad you said that because like just about every Sunday night or wherever we are, Sunday is like our planning day for what's coming up in the weekend. My wife is, she's awesome, beautiful, and she has a lot on her plate. And we're sitting down even with our daughter that we just put the question out of, okay, what do you have this week? And we start to talk about it. Some things are put on the calendar and we look for those days that, okay, we have this time available for us to spend. And normally it's on the weekend, uh, even every now and then during the week. But we were having a conversation over the weekend about her next steps because she's wanting to get to the next level. And she was just mentioning to me, hey, this is what it's going to take, this sacrifice. And as you were just saying, going to be home late because of the work and all aspects of that right there. So just having that open dialogue, that communication to help make sure we're still keeping the main thing the main thing. Because at the end of the day, you have to come home, or if you're not already at home, and you got to make this thing work. So as you and your wife continue to date each other, let me ask this first: how long have you guys been married?
25 years this year.
All right,
Yeah,
all right.
so it's really cool. And one thing, like what we've always done, and we were given this counsel early on, was like, you know, outside of, obviously the Lord being the priority,
Mm-hmm.
she's the next priority, and that we were a family before our kids got here.
Yeah, yeah.
They were just an addition. And
Mm-hmm.
they've always known that mom's the priority. I love you guys, but you guys are going to be gone one day, and they're gone now.
Mm-hmm.
Although they're back for the summer, but they
Right.
know mom's the priority, and our job is to teach you and train you to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so to this day, they know that even when they come home for summer, her and I will still go do our thing by ourselves, and they can fend for themselves. They've been doing it now for 2 years on one and one for another. You can fend for yourselves for a night. So
Right.
no, but I think that's a big thing where we never wanted to get to where the kids left and then we like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like we don't have anything in common. And
Hmm.
like I'm telling you, this last year of empty nesting has been amazing.
Hmm.
It's like we miss our kids, don't get me wrong.
Right.
It's fun. I'm telling you, it's something to look forward to. We have a great time without them. So yeah, it's exciting.
You get to wake up. Hey, I don't hear no noise. Yes.
The kitchen stays clean, food stays in the refrigerator. It's amazing. Yes, the house stays clean. It's crazy.
Oh man, that's beautiful. Oh, so you mentioned your wife is a teacher, and I know you're the VP customer engagement,
Client
client
engagement,
engagement.
customer
Exactly what is
engagement.
that role for Icon?
So what we do, and what I do specifically, is I work with managed service providers and also end clients. So we do uh, under the Icon umbrella, we do like five different things. So we do payrolling for companies,
Hmm.
independent contractor compliance and engagement.
Okay.
We own a company called Oply, which is a direct sourcing AI company
Wow.
to, yeah, it's really exciting. And then we also do staff augmentation, like contract work. We're a staffing supplier.
Hmm.
And we do curation that ties into that Oply, that talent pool. And it can be Oply or any one of their competitors, but you have these talent pools where like you have project managers, you have IT developers, whatever
Hmm.
it may be that companies have. The curation layer is making sure you're keeping them warm so that when a job comes in, they can match them to the job. So you're actually going direct to the talent,
Hmm.
and it's a lot more cost effective because you don't have a staffing supplier markup.
Okay.
That's just one of the things that Oply does. They do, job taxonomy and other things. It's really, really cool technology, and they own their own proprietary AI. So they're not pulling in all the stuff from the internet that could
Hmm.
make the data kind of dirty per se.
Okay.
So that's what we do there. So my job is to work with our clients that we bring in. So I have a sales role, but then also a client support role as well.
Hmm. Oh, so in that, because AI is on the forefront of just about every industry now, how have you seen it change what you do or your industry does compared to back in the day when we didn't have AI?
Yeah, I think it's driving a lot of change. You're getting answers even quicker. You're
Hmm.
able to process data instantaneously almost.
Hmm.
Um, but what I still see is that at the end of the day, you still need a human to get in there and interact and either interpret that data sometimes.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, there's still no replacement for relationships.
No.
That human to human interaction, there's still no replacement to it. And that's still going to be key. So I think AI is definitely changing and will change the landscape and work roles.
Hmm.
I don't. Yeah, it's going to replace jobs. It will.
Hmm.
So people have to reskill and learn. Okay, how do I use AI to best work for me?
Hmm.
Um, like now you can put it in Chat GPT or whatever, whatever, and you can get a PowerPoint
Yeah.
in seconds.
Hmm.
And so, but you still got to go in and massage it because it
Right.
may not sound like you.
Right.
And you want things to be real and you
Hmm.
want to be personable still with it. But I think it's really going to have an impact. I think those who embrace it
Hmm.
will be really, really helpful to them in their careers. But I think also that, I mean, you still got to have that.
Hmm.
You still got to be able to talk to people. You still got to be able to have those
Hmm.
conversations and still be able to develop that relationship with someone. Because at the end of the day, as a buyer or supplier, when you go buy somewhere, you want to go buy from someone that you trust,
Yeah.
or that that there's a product that you support and you trust. There's no replacement for that in my mind.
No, none at all. And my wife, she loves Chat GPT AI. She signed up and bought it. She's definitely using it, as you said, in the sense of being skilled up or reskilling, because of how it's just so integral these days to many roles that we have. Excuse me. Matter of fact, as you said, it does take away the human factor in one regards to it, because I was just recently writing something and I put it in AI. Matter of fact, it was for business class. I put it in AI so it would sound more professional, and it looked great. And I used it. Then I was like, man, I know I don't speak like that, but it was well versed. So as you said, I had to go in and massage it to how it more so can conform to me and what I'm doing. So in that conforming and changing the landscape of business, how do you see AI, or I'll just say AI, being the next steps for you in your role as well?
I think what it'll help me do is in my role is generate content quicker,
Mhm.
maybe parse, as if we're looking for sales and those things. Our sales cycle is very much different because we're selling to usually with an enterprise buyer. So
Hmm.
we know how quick they move. Sometimes it could be 6, 12, 18-month sales cycle, so it's longer. But I think what it'll help us do is process content and be able to get that out to the workforce,
Hmm.
and get it out to the market per se. But again, you still got to have a personal touch on it because we've all got the standard emails that we get from
Yeah.
bots and things like that. That as soon as the first sentence, it's not someone writing it.
Hmm.
And I think that's where my concern just comes in for this next generation of workers that are coming in is you rely too heavily on that and you don't know how to write.
Yeah.
And it's the phone and all that, this instant things that you don't know how to write.
Hmm.
Kids don't know how to sign their name in cursive sometimes. So you still got to be able to do those fundamentals because
Hmm.
what happens when it goes down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I think that balance is with it. And I even tell my kids it's great to use
Hmm.
as a tool, but don't let it
And
supplement what you do or
hmm.
replace what you do.
Yeah, that's for sure. You got to be able to still think for yourself and drive. Don't let AI
Right.
be the driving force in it. Uh, so this is what I want to ask here. Over the years that you've progressed in your roles, you've seen a lot of challenges, but what do you think has been your biggest challenge, and what has been your biggest bravo moment?
Biggest challenge is I think is always really coming to realization. I think we touched on it is like, I don't have all the answers and it's
Hmm.
okay to not have all the answers.
Hmm.
But surround yourself with good people, trust them, train them and set them free and get out of their way.
Hmm.
Um, and that's kind of what's always been. And you know what? They're going to make mistakes. And if you're going to fail, fail fast. That's where I would say fail fast. Let's learn from it and let's move on.
Hmm.
Because unlike we're not in the medical industry where mistakes there could be life impacting.
Yeah.
We're not in that.
Hmm.
And so if you're going to fail, fail and learn from it. I mean, isn't that what experience is? All of our learnings and failures. I mean,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
for the most, so fail fast. That was probably be my biggest thing. And just, get the right people. I'm firm believer on hire on attitude, train on skill.
Mm.
I'd rather have someone who wants to learn than
Yeah.
rather come in with someone who thinks they know it all
Yeah.
and is not willing to be open. So,
Hmm.
but you got to be willing to invest in those people,
Hmm.
and you're going to have to support them as they go. Um, Now, when you say Bravo moment, can you expand on that a little bit?
What is the biggest the time that you really seen things come together to where you can celebrate, like, you know what, we did that. That's one of the best moments we can celebrate, or a moment that we can celebrate.
Um, Man, I've had a bunch of those where we can celebrate, but I think one in particular is when I was at a former employer. We were replacing their current provider. Well, and this was probably in the October-ish timeframe. And they had about 250-ish workers
Mm.
there, and their current provider told them the week of Thanksgiving, we're done as of the end of December. We were going to let them stay on, and we were going to get any net new
Hmm.
people. Well, my client calls me the day after Thanksgiving on a Saturday, and I answered his phone call because there's a few folks that that's part of my thing is like if you call me, I'm going to answer.
Hmm.
And so he called and he was panicked. And I said, hey, look, we'll get this worked out. And called some folks and we got together on that Monday as a team and kind of put together a plan. And it required some of us flying to San Francisco to go on site
Mm.
and do it. But we were able to get them knowing that they were changing systems too February 1. So all those work
Mm.
orders that we would have to create,
Yeah.
We're going to have to recreate them again in 30 days after we went live.
Oh, wow.
So, but we put a whole plan together, and I think that just was a great, great victory for our team.
Hmm.
Again, I kind of stayed out of the way. I was kind of helping move things and remove roadblocks. So I
Hmm.
don't want to overestimate what I did, but the team that worked it, they did a fabulous job. And the client, who is now is also a friend now, has moved on, and has never forgot that hey, like when it came to that time, you
Hmm.
delivered for us, and that's kind of what I want to be known for is give us your ugly problems, we'll fix it for you.
All right, Mr. Fix It. That'll work.
It works sometimes, except sometimes when you're having those conversations with mama. She
Uh-oh.
don't want you to fix it sometimes, right? They just want you to listen. We had that this past week. She reminded me of that. She's like, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen. Got you.
Now you're getting into relationship 101 right there.
My son's experiencing that now with his girlfriend. So yeah, it's fun to see on the other side.
And you know what? It's funny you say that, Jeff, because there was a time my wife, we're always talking, and she had came home one day and she was telling me what was going on, and I think I was giving a suggestion, and I think she accepted it or whatnot. But then another time, she says, "Babe, I don't always need you to suggest. Just let me vent. Let me talk about what's going on." Okay, so coming back, then I'll ask, "Okay, do you want me to suggest something, or do you want me to just listen?" Because that can go either way. So you let me know.
And I did not. This was the one time that I did not. I usually am pretty good about asking that, and I didn't. I came because I had solutions. I had 3 or 4 different solutions. She didn't want to hear one, two, three, or four. She just wanted me
Oh,
to listen. So
I
I was
hear.
like, okay, I will listen. We had a
And
good
so,
laugh about it.
man, you got to. All right, so we're gonna end it with this here. Something very simple. What quote would you provide to a father right now that's looking to encourage and build up his family or his wife? Quote or a statement?
So there would be 2 things. One is I read this a long time ago: spend half the money and twice the time.
Mm,
A
okay.
lot of times we think we can buy our kids things, and
Mhm.
listen, spend half the money and twice the time. You don't get time, and the time that you get with them is valuable. Um, and you know, another one is, I guess the one big one for me, and it's always stuck with me, is I'll paraphrase it from the Bible: is train them in the way that they should go, and they're always going to come back to it.
Mhm. Yes, sir.
So,
That they will.
so,
And
so
one.
those would be my 2 things for a dad.
All right, and the last one for somebody in their career field right now, how would you encourage them to determine or take that chance on where they want to go next?
Um, Again, I would say for those that are spiritually based, be prayerful about it. Um, and that's where, I kind of lean to first. And when I don't, it usually doesn't go the way I want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but more than that is, it's again, like kind of like failing fast. It's okay to make a change and realize, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
Pivot,
Mm-hmm.
pivot and move to something else, but do something that excites you. And do something that, where you can make a difference and, leave a mark on someone, a positive mark. So anything that excites you, I think, is go after it. And you may find that once you get there and do it, it may not be what you, but that's okay. At least you tried it.
Yeah.
Pivot, move on to something else.
Because you never know until you try it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I had a criminal justice degree. You would have never thought I was going to be in the business world. So
Well, hey, you found a way to use it. Advise somebody, give them some kind of pointer since you've already been there. You let them know what
yeah,
they need.
absolutely.
That's all right, man. Well, Mr. Jeff, thank you very much, man, for your time. I appreciate it. And, go roll tide. As
That's it. Roll
Ellie Mae.
Tide. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. And, let's definitely keep in contact. And, anything I can do to help you or anybody listening to this, feel free to reach out. Always here to help.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you, man. You have a
Appreciate
blessed
it,
day.
bud.
All right.
You too. Be well.